with the key stakeholders of our community who really want to see this be successful. I think that will make our plan even more successful as we go forward.
I actually like this. If there's any way that we can incorporate this with the LCAP plan and put this on the website, because this kind of tells us what we've done, and it'll give a more sense of comfort with where the board is going. So if that's something that we
always
could
put
do,
that on the
this is
website.
awesome, Dr. Noshi. Thank you.
I spent most of my life making grids and tables, but I think it was helpful because the board has done some really good work in defining our goals and priorities, and they do absolutely align. So it's not like we're trying to just jump on the bandwagon and do something we haven't already talked about. So.
Before we go, I have a question for 3.1, where you say provide adult supervision staff during transition periods. What does that mean?
That means to make sure that we have the adequate staff because we have kids moving, we have very few adults on any given campus in comparison to the ratio of kids who are there. So we're trying to make sure that there's appropriate people on campus to do that work.
During transition
So
period?
noon duty aides, activity supervisors type work, that type of supervision in order to help the administration and help the teachers to try to maintain.
Like during the day?
During the day.
Oh, okay.
I think Ms. Pueblos at Century instituted something like that, especially when she had extra funding because of construction. But it really helped to turn the school around, knowing that there were people stationed in different places, and students were going to class. They were more accountable for their time because they had that fail-safe system set up.
You know, the other thing that would be helpful, because, you know, the community gave us some grids to work with.
Correct.
If, I think Rafael is here, if you can give us an electronic version of what you gave us, that you had some grids and stuff, to see how,
It aligns to there.
how it matches and, you know, but give it to us electronically. Send them electronic and I'll give it to them, or send it to Dr. Miller. This way you can look at it, because I think it emulated your grids a little bit. Then you can look at it. It might be easier.
And then one more question, because I know one of the things that we talked about when we had that special study session was with bringing back sports, like competitive sports, and also music and art. Where is that in the conditions in this whole outcome?
The music is under, I just saw it, I just flipped the page. 2.5, that'd be the visual and performing arts, as well as 2.6. And then the extracurricular sports and that type of thing, that was in 2.3. 2.3, and there's another, it's in another one as well.
And is that for every school? Because 346,000 is a little bit.
No, you said 2.5. 3.5 is what the other place it covers. Intramural sports.
Yeah, but how much of that money is pretty much targeted for those? Because I know that's one of the things that the community has expressed.
Right, and we've also been talking to some parents who want to bring in some resources, so it may not be limited to what's on this page. So I've met with a group of parents from the DAC-DLAC who want to put in their own time and bring in their own resources to partner with us on this. But so far, intramural sports, I'd have to break that out specifically, but we estimated it over $1.5 million.
The other point is this is a 3-year plan, and this is only year 1. So as we go to year 2 and year 3, we'll continue to add, and hopefully in an informed way, meaning what we've learned from the first year will help us better understand how we need to adjust going into the second and the third year.
Yeah.
And we would hope that each of those 3 years there's more dollars available.
The other thing where I'd like to see, and I don't know where it would be here, is, you know, I know that we're restoring some positions. over the years, or the funding source has changed. And,
Right.
you know, and so, you know, we need to see where they fit now. They do not, for example, TASAs, you know, a lot of the funding, if they're going to continue it, what's the funding source now? You've got on the classified section, you have possibly some restoration in some positions that were the hours have been cut, and that might make sense because you know from an efficiency perspective. So, I mean, when you start looking at your personnel, I mean, which ones are we restoring, or which one are we going to refund from a different funding, so that we know what we've done, because because some of our programs have been impacted, like music, the arts. You know, there's a lot of little things that we've had to reduce.
Right.
So how does it come to play in terms of personnel?
Correct.
I'm kind of processing how I can bring you back that information, because it's
It's
lots.
not easy.
But I'll work with Dr. Miller and Dr. Haglund and everybody else.
Dr. Noji says she's into all these grids, so she can.
She's on the grid.
I'll get it all together and send it to her.
Much longer though. Okay, so thank you. I think this
Thank
is
you.
moving along really well. I know you've all put a lot of work into it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we feel really good about our progress to date, and hopefully Dr. Miller's heard many things across the state about how well we're doing compared to other districts. Hopefully we are.
Well, we really appreciate your feedback. It helped to make a better presentation.
Are you moving into your next
I
presentation on the
am.
budget?
That's why I'm not going away.
I think we have a updated version at our places.
Yes, you do. Thank goodness.
I must confess, I really like the colors that you've chosen. The blue and
Well, you
gold.
got to throw somebody a bone sometime.
Yeah, but what about
Okay,
a
I'm
bit of
taking
red?
note of that.
So tonight I have a brief update and presentation on our budget for 2014-15. And this is based off of the May revised governor's budget, as well as kind of what we know to date in terms of our LCAP, because now, we've made sure that we're trying to be in alignment with that. So we're going to briefly go over a few points. So the state gave us a new funding formula, and it's an 8-year implementation of the funding formula for anyone who hasn't heard already. It's called the Local Control Accountability, or Local Control Funding Formula. And ultimately, all districts will be funded at a target in 2021, and everything from there will be all COLA driven. So after the 8 years from now until, or actually 7 years now, from now until then, we're going to have this gap funding situation where the governor and the legislature is going to determine how school districts are funded and what is the gap that we're going to be funded at. After that time period, it's just a COLA situation, and they'll determine what the COLA is, and school district will get the COLA based on the available funding. Having said that, why did it not move? Oh, I'm sorry. So the pertinent thing on this slide is that until that point, until that time period, we have no guarantee of what our next year funding will be. So every year is a crapshoot in terms of what the gap will be funded at, and whether it will be funded in that year. So that's just an important thing to keep in the back of your mind as you're thinking through some of our conversations and projections. So the Local Control Accountability Plan is directly aligned and required by the LCFF funding statutes. And basically, the LCAP is really based on measurable student outcomes. So it's using the LCFF to get to measurable student outcomes. And those outcomes are locally determined. And they're loosely surrounded or based on the 8 state priorities. So we talked about all of those state priorities. We won't go through those again. But basically, that's what we're dealing with. Our goal